Hello and welcome to the Audi TTRS Iconic. This is Audi's last ever TT they're producing, which is kind of sad, right? And in this video I'm going to give you a quick review. I'm going to talk to you about what I think of the car. More importantly, is it worth the hefty price tag, and should you buy one? And when I mean you, I'm talking a very select few, because, well, I'll touch on that in a moment. So first and foremost, the TTRS Iconic will cost you £85,000. I'll say off the bat that is too much for an Audi TT. It's just extortionate amount of money. We get a 2.5 5-cylinder engine in this car, 400 PS, 480 Newton meters of torque. It is 4-wheel drive. It has a 7-speed S-tronic gearbox, 0 to 62 miles per hour, dispatched in just 3.7 seconds. So engine-wise, it's the same as a normal TTRS. However, what is it that makes the TTRS Iconic special? Well, firstly is its rarity, its scarcity factor. They are only making 100 of these worldwide, of which only 11 cars, this being one of them, are coming to the UK market. Now, the other bits that are different, you get 20-inch wheels, I think it's 20-inch wheels on this car. We get uprated dampers, so kind of might make the suspension a bit stiffer, which right off the bat, I'll tell you, compromises the ride a little bit on normal driving, but I'll touch on that when I start to press on a little bit. Most of the changes, if not all of the changes, other than the dampers, are visual changes. The most noticeable of it being the swan neck style rear spoiler, which kind of makes it look like a baby Audi R8 Le Mans type series car. It looks very cool. We get canards on the front. We get some additional side skirts. Interior wise, we get some very nice gold stitching with some TTRS Iconic embroidery. We get the Alcantara wheel with gold stitching. See how stiff that suspension is. We get gold stitching here on the gear indicator, and we get a little number that tells me that this is car number 31 of 100. That's about it. So what about how it is to drive, right? Let's give it a little acceleration just to remind ourselves what the TTRS is actually like, because it is pretty phenomenal. So Audi say this is 0 to 62 in 3.7, although if I'm being honest, it's quicker. I mean, look how this hooks up, and listen to that sound. There you go, that's 60. I didn't even launch it properly, if I'm completely honest with you. I should have had the traction off. Look, right off the bat, the TTRS for me is one of the most underrated Audis. Amongst the tuning community, people recognise the capability of that 2.5 litre engine. Although, questionably, if you buy this car, will you want to tinker with it? I'm not so sure. But the TTRS is such a good platform. It's always been a good platform, and over the years, all the way up until its final point, which is this one, has delivered incredible driving experiences, incredible sound, and incredible tunability. I love this car. And ironically, when the TTRS started its life, it had its critics, right? It had its stereotype views. Everyone associated this with, you know, your hairdresser's car. Let me tell you, this is definitely not a hairdresser's car. And there's nothing against hairdressers, by the way. But some of the styling from the early years brought the TT into question. It was a lot more rounded. It didn't look as aggressive. But right here, this final edition car, not only is the TTRS super aggressive, with all the add-ons that they've done, it almost feels like Audi have kind of ended the TT with a bit of an FU to the majority of the community who have said the car isn't aggressive enough. You couple that with a 2.5 5-cylinder engine, which is just glorious, and you get an incredible package. But it's not 90 grand's worth of car, in my opinion. There are so many other options. However, I'm certain that these will sell, but I wouldn't buy one. I just wouldn't buy a normal TTRS. These dampers, let's see, throw it around here. I mean, look, it hugs the road well. It is much stiffer than the standard TTRS, you notice that, and on these British B roads, you know, the ride is a little bit compromised in terms of it's a bit crashy, very stiff. But you get this on a track, or you get this on some nice smooth roads, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. From a driving perspective, look, it's great. It really is good. Seating position is perfect in this car. You sit low. I've got good visibility. Relatively practical. The boot space is decent as well. It's a 2+2, and whilst realistically no one's sitting in the back unless you chop their legs off, other than a pet or some very small children, and you'll have to sell the car if you want to transport them around when they grow up. But it does have some decent kind of practicality to it as well. More importantly, I think the comfort factor of what you get from the interior. The cockpit, the cabin is just so nice on the TT in general, the modern day one. We get the virtual cockpit, we get these very nice dials here on the front where everything is very well engineered to keep things minimal. And if you're a passenger, you don't really have much distraction. You just kind of see directly what's ahead. But as a driver, I get everything that I need. Let's launch it one more time, but let me turn the traction off because it didn't launch. Let's hook it up properly. Look at this. I mean, that is just blistering acceleration. And bear in mind, that's 400 brake horsepower. We all know that you can tune these well in excess of 500 brake horsepower, and 3.7 seconds in a TT is unbelievably good. I've always had a lot of respect for the Audi TT, particularly the modern Audi TT. I think it looks incredible and it has such road presence. It's just such a great platform. It really, really is. It handles well too. There isn't that much understeer on it. The four-wheel drive system does a phenomenal job. That Haldex system does a really good job at putting that power down. It allows you to pull out of corners, and it just is a brilliant thing to drive. It really, really is. Now, touching back on the interior, as earlier on we get some gold stitching, Alcantara wheel, etc. Steering wheel feels great, flat bottomed. The seats look stunning. They're not massively different to what you'd expect from the normal TT, but this Iconic Edition with the kind of hexagon pattern, the half Alcantara, half Napa leather, really, really does work. I get lots of kind of adjustability, although it is manual adjustability in this car. You don't get a lot of the electrics on it. I do get your usual creature comforts such as cruise control, multi-driving mode, so they haven't skipped on that. They have kept all of that in there, but they've just added a little bit of spice on the top with some gold accent and some visual changes. So it goes back to my point. Should you buy the TTRS Iconic Edition? If I'm completely honest, no, unless you've just got a car collection that you want to add something lovely to, something that's likely going to hold its value, because there's only 10 of them in the UK, and going to be 11 of them, sorry, right-hand drive models. So there is something to be said about the rarity factor. But I struggle. I actually struggle to comprehend the price point. It's just too much. It's sad that Audi are, pulling the curtain down on what's been an incredible era for the TT, but also the evolution of the RS model. Like I said, the handling on this it's just, look at this. Those dampers definitely do a good job at reducing body roll, that I can guarantee. But it is a sad time. Audi have now discontinued the R8, they're now discontinuing the TT, and the focus seems to be on electrification, which, to be completely honest with you, bores me a little bit. I feel privileged to be able to still drive cars like this, and so if you really want, to have that last ever Audi TT, it's going to cost you a fortune. But you get that 2.55 cylinder sound, you get that rarity, you get a number here on the stick. But I almost feel a little bit sad that this is it for the TT. But hey, look, there are loads of them out on the market. If you want one, go and buy one. If you're into tinkering and tuning, this for me is such a good platform. I would take one of these over a TTRS, an RS3 personally. Questionable over the new RS3, but I think the TTRS is just a phenomenal platform. So look, I'm not going to talk too much about it because realistically there isn't anything massively different from the standard car other than a few visual cues and some dampers and a huge price tag. So if you did like this video, please smash the like button. Comments are always welcome, and I will see you all very soon on the next video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.